Hey guys, so I just thought let me just quickly do a quick video. It's gonna be very quick. You probably read the disclaimer. I am gonna be talking about a miscarriage that happened to me a few months back. So if this is a topic that triggers you, I would suggest watching another video. But I'm gonna talk today about a miscarriage that I experienced back in June of 2022, and I was 14 weeks pregnant at the time. If you guys have been following my journey, you know that I started my channel as like a beauty hair channel, and then it morphed into like business. But as the time went by, obviously a person's not just one-dimensional. A person's not just all business or all lifestyle, all beauty. Like, we have many different dimensions with us. So I decided, like, I'm also gonna take you guys on a journey that I'm going on, which is my trying to conceive journey. If you don't know me, I'm married, almost 12 years. I have a child that's 18 years old, and I have another daughter that is she's 9. So I have 2 daughters, married to my husband. So we were wanting maybe to try for another child. You guys probably have seen, if you haven't seen already, my first miscarriage video that happened in around December 2021. Definitely go and watch that. That was the first time I ever experienced miscarriage. But this one was a second trimester loss. So I'm gonna just discuss what happened and how I'm moving on from them. In March 2022, after having the loss in December the previous year, I was so surprised to see that I was actually pregnant. And I'll insert clips of, I have all the clips of when I found out I was pregnant back in March. And I was so happy because, yes, we were kind of trying, not trying, but I was just so happy to see the positive lines when I was pregnant in March 2022. So, okay, so, you see the positive lines, and the next thing you want to do is you want to make an appointment because, for me, I was holding my breath because the last time I got pregnant, I went to the doctor the first time, and there was an empty sac. So yes, I got the line. That was the first check mark. Now the next thing for me was actually seeing that the sac was filled with a baby and that there was a heartbeat, that there was something there. Fast forward to my first appointment, which was around, I would say, 7 weeks or so. We saw the baby. We heard the heartbeat. It was the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. So my pregnancy progressed. So I want to fast forward from March, when I found out I was pregnant, and from my first sonogram, to fast forward to June. So in June, I would say around the 8th or the 9th, that's when things started to change in my pregnancy. So around June 8th, June 9th, early in the morning, I started getting contraction, like pains. Now at 14 weeks, you do not want to get contractions. Like, I've had children before, so I know what contractions feel like. And I definitely was having contractions. They came about like every hour at that point when it first started. And I said, you know what, maybe I'm just stressed out. Maybe I'm just going through something right now. Maybe this will pass. But I continued to watch them for about 24 hours. And I watched them for 24 hours. And they were actually getting more frequent, more closer together. Actually, the contractions, they felt more like sciatica pain. They would start like at my lower back and then run up and down my leg in the back. And it was so uncomfortable actually. So I called my doctor, after, first of all, I texted my doctor right away to let him know that I was having these pains. And then after like 24 hours, I was like, no, I have to go in. So I went into my doctor. Actually, I called him up. I was like, listen, I'm having contraction-like pains. They're coming frequently. They're getting really uncomfortable, and I'm only 14 weeks. So they're like, no, come in right now. So I went into the doctor, and they did the sonogram. They checked the baby. Everything was beautiful with the baby. The baby looks fine. Baby's jiggling and happy in there. But then the sonographer said, let me just check the cervix, because you're having these pains. We have to check everything. They checked the cervix, and they said that my cervix was funneling. So I will put a diagram of what these things mean and what these terms are creating. Again, it's something that I've never heard of, a funneling cervix. In my case, I only heard that your cervix should either be closed or should be dilating when it's time to give birth. I didn't know that a cervix could even funnel. But the reason why it funnels is because it's starting to dilate. It's just like dilating almost at one end, it seems like, right? So the doctor said, you know what? I want to admit you to the hospital, and I want to give you some fluids. We'll watch you a little while, and we're also going to give you some medicines to see if we can stop the contractions. He says, push comes to shove tomorrow. If none of that works, the fluids and the medicine, we're going to go in for surgery, and you're going to have something called a cerclage, which is where they stitch your cervix closed. So of course, I've never heard of any of this stuff. This is all stuff I have to start researching at this moment, because I'm like, I've never heard of this stuff. I've never even heard anybody who went through these kind of things, So I get to the hospital, me and my husband. It's so funny because as we're waiting in the waiting room, my husband, he tells me, he's like, I don't like this hospital. He's like, it's something about here I don't like. And I was like, okay, like just listening, of course, not suspecting anything. We get there, they admitted me to the emergency room because at that point I'm only 14 weeks pregnant. You can't go to the maternity ward because you're nowhere close, and if the baby's born, they can't do anything. Admitted to the doctor, to the emergency room, and from the emergency room, that's when everything started to go downhill. Waited a couple hours. They gave me the IV. Finally, they brought a doctor down. From the maternity area, and she comes down. She's very nice, but she's like, what's going on? So I tell her, I literally started having contraction like yesterday, and I've been watching them. They're getting closer and closer together. So she said, okay, we're gonna definitely see. I said I went to the doctor, and the doctor says I'm pretty much starting to funnel. I'm dilating at least 2 centimeters already. And she's like, okay, take some notes. And then she's like, I'm gonna have to check your cervix to see if you're dilating. Mind you, I just told you that I'm 2 centimeters dilated, right? Whatever. So when she said that she's going to check my cervix, I thought, I don't know, I guess I thought with my mind that she was just going to use her manually, like with her finger. It didn't happen like that. She brought out the speculum. And when I say that I had the most horrible feeling, like my gut started to, I just started to feel like scared. Like, why is she gonna use a speculum? Like everything in my body was telling me, like, tell her no. But when you're in that kind of setting and you're in front of a doctor, and the doctor's supposed to be the medical expert, naturally you just trust the doctor, right? No, I don't suggest that. I say, like, if your gut is telling you something, you should at least listen to the gut feeling. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? So After she came back and she had a student with her, because it's like a learning hospital. She had a student with her, and basically she's like, okay, I'm gonna lay you back, I'm gonna go in and just check your cervix. So she goes in with the speculum, and it's very uncomfortable. I'm still having contractions at this point. I'm still having contractions. She goes in with the speculum, and when they open the speculum, I feel pressure. I feel a pop, right? But I didn't know what it was, right? I didn't know what it was at that moment. So she removes out the speculum, and she's like, oh, I have to get a second opinion because it seems like you're dilating. I said to her, I just told you that I'm dilating. Like, I came in here dilated. I already told you guys that that's what's happening. Why do you need a second opinion? So when she leaves the room now, I look at my husband, I'm like, why would she need a second opinion? She is the medical professional. Why would she need a second opinion? And she should know what's going on, Something's wrong. And she brings in her senior resident. By the way, she was a resident doctor. She brings in her senior resident, the one over her, and she comes in. She's an Indian doctor, and no offense to Indian doctors, but sometimes when you're not the same as someone else, they can't relate to you, right? And I'm Black. The first doctor resident was a white woman, and this doctor was a Indian woman, right? So she asks me to tell her what's going on. So I tell her right away, I'm having contractions. I'm 14 weeks pregnant. This should not be happening. She cut me off. She cut me off, and she said, no, honey, you're not having contractions. I said, yes, honey, I'm having contractions. That's what the problem is. I'm feeling contraction-like pains. I've had 2 children. I know what contractions feel like. I started getting hostile because I'm like, how are you going to tell me that I'm not having contractions? That I'm not feeling what I'm feeling, that I'm not feeling the pain that I'm feeling. And it's like, when I was even going back now, like telling the story, so many like Black women, they tell people they're in pain and nobody listens. Like, it's crazy. And then, the statistics amongst Black women dying in these kind of situations is so high. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm not even gonna go into that because that's a whole nother topic. So I let her know I'm having contractions, and I told her, something's wrong, whatever. So she's like, okay, well, we're gonna go check your cervix. So I'm like, you guys are gonna put the speculum in me again? Like, after that just happened, after you just put the speculum in me, right? So now I start having a contraction. Before she could put the speculum in, I'm like, I'm having another contraction. So, I wait through the contractions, but this time this contraction feels different. This time I feel like not only is the contractions, but now this one feels like pressure. It's like more of a intense contraction feeling, and now I feel liquids dripping out of me. And I say to the 2 doctors in there, I'm like, there's something coming out of me. And she's like, no, honey, there's nothing coming out of you. I'm like, there's water coming out of me. And she's like, no, there's nothing there. And I'm like, I'm telling you. And the contraction passes, and then she, goes in manually. She goes in with the speculum a second time, looks, and then she takes the speculum out. She goes in manually and feels with her finger, and then I can feel all the water just splashing out when she does that. All the water is coming out. And I said, and I'm like, I look at my husband, I'm like, water's coming out, and he doesn't know what's going on because, you know, he's just there, you know, support. Like, what can he do, you know? And she, you know, after she comes out, whatever, you know, finishes her manual exam, she says, well, I'm so sorry to say, but your water bag has ruptured, and yeah, it looks like you're losing your water bag popped, so yeah, we have to discontinue this pregnancy. I was looking at her like, lady, I just came in here with a healthy pregnancy. Aside from my contractions, my pregnancy was fine. No one once checked the baby. No one once checked to see anything regarding the baby. All you guys want to do is just go up inside of me. And now you're telling me, oh, my water popped. Like it just happened by itself. You know, I was pissed. Like, I don't even know how to like explain the feeling. It was surreal. I like, it was almost like, no, this did not just happen. Like, this did not just happen, you know? So after she said that, it was like I can feel the water coming out more and more and more. And she's like, oh, you know, your doctor's on his way. So I'm like there, left to myself with my husband. Like, basically our pregnancy is done because the water is coming out, and a baby can't live without water. So I start getting on the phone. I text my mom. I text everybody. I text some people who are very important to me to let them know what's happening and what just happened. And everybody's like, I can't believe. What do you mean? What's gonna happen with the baby? Like, I'm like, at this point, the baby can't live without water. They popped my water. Like, that's how they popped my water. And finally my doctor comes in, and he comes in and he's like, to be honest, I was already in a blur, so I don't even know what he said, but he said something along the lines of, you know, I let you know that there's some risk involved with this kind of thing. I said, no, you let me know that there was risk involved with the surgery that I was supposed to have tomorrow. I didn't even get to tomorrow because these people popped my water. And the resident doctor, she had the nerve to like basically tell me, she was basically like yelling back. So I see my doctor, and he kind of like stopped her, because obviously I'm in a trauma situation. I'm mad. You don't say anything, especially since you're the one who pretty much, you know, y'all were the ones who did not take care of me. I came to the hospital for help, and instead, look at the situation that I'm at. After that, it was literally a series of downhill situations. It was literally water coming out, and then blood, and then I was bleeding, hemorrhaging, and my blood pressure dropped, and it was just a lot. It was a lot. And they said, oh, we're gonna schedule your DNC for tonight when the surgeon is available. And I'm like, I just couldn't believe, like, DNC. I'm like, what do you mean DNC? Like, I'm supposed to have my baby, like, you know? And yeah, after that, it really was a blur after that, but that was pretty much 14 weeks. I would have been 15 weeks the next day, but unfortunately I didn't make it to the next day. It's so hurtful. It was so hurtful to me, because 14 weeks, I mean, it's a baby. It's already a formed baby, you know, just miniature, just cannot live without the mom, you know. And I didn't even get to know who that person was. And just my treatment there in the hospital was so horrible. I went through it. There's so much more to the story, obviously. Like, my milk actually came in a few days later, and I was re-triggered because here my body was trying to make milk for a baby that wasn't even there. what happened after that. Went to the bathroom, had a mental breakdown, was on the floor screaming. I could get into all that stuff, of course, but you could just imagine. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, you could just imagine what happened if you feel like your baby was taken from you, your pregnancy was taken from you. You went there for help, and you went there pregnant, and you left not pregnant. So it's just like, it's hurtful. And for a long time, I just couldn't process it. I could not talk about it. I could not think about it. I could not verbalize my pain. I wanted to also let you guys know that it wasn't a DNC that I had. I actually, the baby started to descend down my vaginal canal, so I actually had to give birth to him. Unfortunately, because of my pain and my trauma, I couldn't even look at him, but I did find out it was a boy. But I wanted to share with you guys today about my loss, because some of you do know that I was pregnant last year around June, but I never really came out and said, like, I lost a baby, whatever. What I want to say is just, I want to give hope to those people who have gone through some kind of traumatic loss as I did. Well, I did end up going to litigations for this. I went through court, and now I'm able to speak about it. So that's why I'm able to speak about it now. That's another reason why I couldn't talk about it, because we were in court and we were coming to some kind of like deliberation, some kind of answer, some kind of like, you know, resolution of what happened. So now I'm able to talk about it, thank goodness. But for anybody who's going through this, like, I'm just so sorry. Like, no one should have to go through this. No one should have to suffer a loss. I'm so sorry that you have to go through this, which is probably how you ended up on my video. But I know this video was kind of like all over the place. It's just me just kind of getting it out there, letting you guys know what happened. Moving forward, are we still trying to get pregnant? Are we still trying to have a baby? You know, me and my husband, we came to a conclusion that we weren't gonna try. We were just gonna let nature happen, and that's it. Like, that's pretty much where we're at right now. Whatever's happening is whatever's happening. But I can tell you guys that, you know, when you go through grief like that and you are able to conquer it, not necessarily that you conquered the grief or the grief goes away, it's that your grief stays the same size, but your heart gets bigger. You're able to like understand a little bit more why things happen, and also you're able to just have a greater and a deeper understanding, I guess. What I can say is both my losses, before and after them, totally different person. Once I had this loss, it changed my whole outlook on life, and it changed my whole outlook on just everything, gratefulness, even about stressing things that doesn't matter. I was quite stressed that week that I had the loss. I don't know if that was one of the factors that caused my contractions in the first place. I don't know what caused my contractions in the first place, but I know that once you do overcome the fear, good things are coming. So I know this video was also random. I know this video was all over the place. I know this video was very vulnerable for me. I hope that you guys got something from it, or you were able to be consoled by it in some way. If you are going through this and you have nobody to talk to, you could definitely reach out to me. You can definitely tell your story down below. It helps. I'm telling you, telling your story helps other women. Helps other women who are going through this. So that will be all for the video today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.